These, my friends, are all of the new blocks and items added in the 1.17 update. There certainly is a lot of them, and that means that it's time for some myth busting. We got a whole bunch of new blocks to run through our tests, and we'll start with the classic does it spawn question. However, for this video, I want to breeze through this part and just show you the results of all of my testing. We've seen it many times before where we put the new blocks into darkness and then see if the mobs are able to spawn on top of them or not. So let's go ahead and see the results of this testing. You can tell by the way that I've labelled these chests that they're not able to spawn on candles. This also includes candle cakes. I made sure to test for that. They can't spawn on the amethyst crystals, and because the glow lichen emits light, that prevents them from spawning anyway. And this chest is full of the self-explanatory stuff because we've got blocks that aren't a full block, tinted glass is glass, and then we have other shaped blocks which they are simply unable to spawn on. And so as you might suspect, all of the full-size blocks are in this chest, but also the hanging roots and the spore blossom. I actually put some blocks above to see if these would interact with the space mobs can spawn in at all, and the answer is that they can't, so therefore mobs can spawn in hanging roots and spore blossoms. And that leaves us with one curious block that doesn't appear as a block in this chest. It is Powdered Snow Bucket. And so the problem here is that we won't get anything spawning on top of this powdered snow, but I believe that might have something to do with the biome that we're in. So what I've decided to do is create a flat world that has powder snow in it, but also we're going to set the biome here to snowy tundra. And in this world at night time with night vision, you can see absolutely nothing is spawning here. And now, my friends, I am starting to freeze. But then again, I'm in creative mode, so it's okay. So this one was a curiosity for me because I'd seen a bug fix saying that they could in fact spawn on these powder snow blocks, but we've seen that it is not so. So anyway, now we move on to the next thing. And that is the beacon beam test to find out what blocks will let a beacon beam shine through it. And once again, I've gone ahead and actually done all of this already. Every block has been placed one by one on top of the beacon beam, and I've taken note of if it could shine through or not. There is a couple of exceptions though. I had to get creative with a couple of these, placing hanging roots and spore blossom below the glass above. And sometimes I'd have to get creative as you can't place the block on top of the beacon. I am indeed clicking, but to get around this I just used a command to find out. So all of the things in these chests are placeable with the beacon beam going through. This one I found to be particularly curious. I kind of expected it not to be able to go through. And over on this side, obviously, all the other blocks. However, this one I found to be rather curious, as regular glass lets the beacon beam through. Tinted glass, not the same though, and I reckon that is probably quite intentional. And as is tradition, I've added all the blocks that the beacon doesn't shine through to this big old lump here. You know, these ideas are kind of outdated now. Back when we started the myth-busting world, Mojang didn't tend to add a lot of blocks, but now they do each update, and areas look like this just look like a complete mess, but over on this side are all the ones that the beacon can go through. And also the spore blossom, like, it spreads out its particle blocks so far, it's kind of messy. I wish it was a little more contained. Anyway, I'm getting distracted again. So next, I will simply say that if you're enjoying the video, then please do leave a like to support the channel, and consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. You've got another myth-busting video coming out in the future for 1.17 before a new series starts on my channel. So anyway, subscribe and you'll catch those videos. So in this game, Enderman can pick up blocks, and we want to know which ones, and that's why I built the Enderman Block Picking Up Testing Facility. What a catchy name. No. But we used to have to painstakingly put down all the blocks and wait for Enderman to pick them up, but now there are actually tag lists in the game, and the sad news is that this update, the tag list hasn't changed. So what is going on here then? Well, that tag list I mentioned actually refers to another tag list that has been changed to include the moss block and rooted dirt. So the Enderman will be able to pick up these two. And I believe at one point in development they are also able to pick up the azalea and the flowering azalea. However, those have now been removed from the tag list, so they can't pick up these ones. And on the subject of tag lists, it occurred to me that the dragon immune tag list might have been updated, but it hasn't. But I don't think I showed this last time around we did myth busting with the Nether update, and it turns out there were 2 added to this list. So Crying Obsidian and Respawn Anchor can't be destroyed by the Ender Dragon, and that means you can use them decoratively in this dimension. And it makes me think it would be nice if Mojang would add a few more blocks to this list, right? So you could decorate the area where you also fight the Ender Dragon. So now it's time for the classic instant mine test, where I put down all of the new blocks and figure out what tools we can use to instantly mine them. And this is how we used to do it, my friends, just rows upon rows of blocks, but there are so many in the game now that we've resorted to just bundling down piles of them. And I've actually teared through a lot of the blocks already by finding out which ones can't be instant mined with the Efficiency 5 Netherite pick and Haste 2. This is the most that you can do in survival, and so all of the deep slate blocks, all of the copper blocks, slabs and stairs variants, deep slate ores, and these blocks here, none of them can be instant mined in survival. But there is one exception to this, and that is the infested deep slate. So what we do with these tests is we pick out like a bunch of different tools to find out where the instant mine is. For this one though, I'm just going to do it with the Efficiency 5 Netherite pick, and as you can see we can instant mine it, and then we're getting attacked by the silverfish. And it is rather interesting to note that as soon as I lower this down to Haste 1, that's when we actually lose the instant mine ability on the infested deep slate. And so like before, after testing the blocks, I'd simply write the result onto the signs. So I've written down the first one, and now I got a bunch more testing to do. So I've added 2 blocks that can't be instant mined. The budding amethyst doesn't even drop anything when you break it. I was a little surprised by the moss block, which brings us to the shovel. Rooted dirt will require efficiency 3 with just diamond, and also with diamond tools, efficiency 4 for calcite and tuft. And then when it comes to these ones, I find it interesting that it works with both diamond and netherite, but it needs the same combination of efficiency and haste. Then we have powder snow, which the shovel doesn't actually make a difference to. I think you could say that bucket is the tool to instant mine it. I don't know if that counts as instant mine. That's more like creative speed for breaking blocks, but yes, that would be the way to pick this one up. So for these 4 blocks, shears is the tool of choice, no need for haste or anything like that. There is just one difference between the 2 of them, and that is with the azalea bushes, you can actually just punch them to instant mine. You don't even need to use your tools. And here's another little fun fact, you can't actually place signs onto these blocks. Look, if I right click on the top, nothing happens. If I click here, it's technically placing it off the side of the next sign. So next we have the glow lichen, and all you need is efficiency 2 on your shears. You're probably thinking about a farm in survival where you can just chuck it loads of shears crafted from your iron farm. The haste effect doesn't actually make a difference here, which I find rather unusual. So the moss carpet and dripstone leaf can't be instant mined, as well as the candle. There's no tool for this, it always breaks at the same speed, regardless of haste or not. Then over here with the small drip leaf, it's actually instant by default with any tool, and then the same goes for the hanging roots and the spore blossom. And rather unsurprisingly, the pointed dripstone has the same requirements as the dripstone block, and same goes for the lightning rod, which is made out of copper. That can't be instant mined. And then you probably guessed it, these are consistent with the amethyst block, but actually you'd be incorrect. It requires haste 2 and efficiency 5 to instant mine all of the different buds. Whew, that was a lot of blocks to get through, but we've tested all of the ones added in 1.17. And we shan't be doing that for this next test, which will be one of my favourites, where we see what blocks Enderman can teleport to. This is bound to yield some derpy results, but what I've done here is just picked out the ones I thought would be most interesting to test, and that's all of these. And the one of these I think they are very likely to teleport to is the tinted glass, but because it's slightly different than regular glass, I thought it would be worth checking out. So if you haven't seen this before, this is how it works. We create some Endermen, we put them in water to encourage them to teleport, and look at that, they all made their way over. So next up, we'll do the flowering azalea. There is grass directly below it, and look at that, they don't want to go to it. And no surprise to anyone, the same is true of the regular azalea bush. Then we have moss carpets, which they have no problem at all teleporting to. Now here we have a platform of the glow lichen block, and what's interesting about this one is that it's not hacky. It can actually kind of just sit out here in the open unsupported by anything. When we give it a block date to a neighbouring block, they don't all pop off. But the question is, can Enderman teleport to it? And I think the answer is a resounding no. We've got some candles, and for a second there I thought it teleported to it. Nope, that looks like another one it won't. And how about with a full set of candles so it has a bigger collision box? Still, they don't want to teleport here. We are probably going to see the same result with the lightning rod, right? No, they actually try and teleport to this one. That's brilliant. Look at that. Now this one will be interesting for two reasons. One is that the drip leaf can actually just kind of hang out there and be a floaty block like it is. The second one is that if they did teleport to this, they would then moments later fall through, which would have been really fun to see, but they didn't teleport over. So I had to get creative for this one. I think that'll work for a test. Something I've observed here though is that the drip leaf can have both a sort of random position within the block and also a random rotation, although it seems to be that one rotation is way more common than the other ones. A curious observation, but let's now go and observe what happens with these Endermen. And yeah, they're not going to teleport across. Now when it comes to the dripstone block, it's not going to have water directly below it, so they might actually teleport to the platform itself. Yeah, that could be what's happening here. But if we use waterlogging again, then our test can be different. So here we go. Yeah, they're going to teleport to the pointed dripstone. Interesting. And that leaves us with one more test, which will be my favourite, the powder snow. I think it's going to be so funny if they teleport into it and then sink through. But they're not even going to teleport. I'm going to have to force the issue. Yeah, I was really hoping they'd teleport over here and then just drop through. Oh well. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of another wonderful episode of Myth Busting. If you have enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like and check out the videos linked on your end screen if you want some more myth busting action. That is it from me, and I'll see you in the next one, my friends. Bye-bye.